Hey everyone, Molly and Heather here.
And we want to welcome you to this 3-part coaching series.
In this video series, we're going to show you how sugar, when overconsumed, can be your worst enemy in more ways than one.
Yes, we're going to do this by dissecting 3 health trends that are hot right now, and they all have one thing in common. Sugar, and consumption of more sugar.
You guys, have you ever heard of the terms low fat and gluten-free? What about so-called healthy sugars?
In part 2 of this series, we're going to delve deep into these 3 health trends, teach you how they could be hurting your family, and then we're also going to teach you how to read, understand nutrition labels.
Here's a teaser. Did you know that here at the 30 Clean, we actually focus on the ingredient list, not calories, not grams, not even nutritional values. We want to know exactly what you're eating and that it's real ingredients.
Exactly, and we want to make sure that you aren't over-consuming sugar. And you know, even the so-called healthy sugars, they're also sugar. Sugar is sugar is sugar.
Yeah.
So we're going to teach you other names where sugar might be hiding.
Oh, it's going to be really good. But first, Heather, let's give them a little backstory as to who we are and why we care so much about clean eating.
Of course. Well, Molly, as you know, I grew up with an incredibly loving mother. Unfortunately, one way she showed me her love was by showering me with sugar. Twinkies, sodas, chocolate, you name it. And unconsciously, I became a sugar addict. So I basically spent my childhood, adolescent, and college years overweight, but even more importantly, I was combating emotional highs and lows all the time. And sadly, it was just all related to eating too much sugar, which if I knew, I could have really controlled much earlier in life. So by the age of 29, I lost my mom to lung cancer, and other family members were being diagnosed with life-threatening health conditions. And it kind of just opened my eyes. You know, my sister, my dad, everyone in my family. I knew that I had to start taking my health into my own hands, and I did that by starting to work out, which I never ever did in my life.
Wow.
And I started focusing more on diet. But even then, I was still eating protein bars and powdered shakes, made all sorts of ingredients that I couldn't pronounce. So finally, I opened my eyes again, and when I started eating clean and really cutting out those processed foods and excess sugars, that's when I really started to feel truly strong and, more importantly, emotionally balanced. You know, now that I'm a certified health advisor and I'm armed with knowledge to know when I'm consuming foods that hurt me mentally and physically, I feel even better because I know I can put that knowledge to use and really help other people.
Oh my gosh. Well, Heather, I am so glad that you're here to share your knowledge.
Thanks, Molly.
Yeah.
You know, I am the sugar addict between the two, but we all know that you are the resident wine addict.
I do. I love my wine so much. And I mean, I think everybody has their vice, right?
Of course, they all do. So, Molly, can you just tell us a little bit about your journey?
Sure. Well, I actually grew up on 25 acres in North Georgia in the mountains where my mom had a giant garden, fresh eggs, and she even made homemade kombucha in our living room.
So amazing.
Is that weird?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, that's awesome.
As a kid, I had no appreciation for it. And slowly I started finding my way into my friends' pantries.
We
So
all
eating
did
all of their
that.
sugar, right?
I know.
Let the yo-yo dieting begin. Fast forward through 2 pregnancies and just desperate to lose the baby weight, I became the low-fat queen, like queen. I'm honestly not even sure how my brain was functioning without any fat.
Right. You weren't alone, Molly.
No, I know. And not to mention, I had no idea how much sugar I was actually eating, which we'll talk about. But then I did my first clean eating challenge, dropped that last 10 pounds of baby weight that was clinging onto me, took a real look at my relationship with wine, a constant battle, and changed my life.
That's awesome, Molly. Thanks. Now that Molly and I have joined forces and have changed the lives of over 8,000 challengers just like you, it's just been great.
Yeah, it's been awesome. And one thing we've learned over the past 2 years is that there's so much misinformation out there in the world. It's kind of shocking.
It's terrible. But it's exactly why we want to bust myths about 3 surprising health trends that could be hurting you and your families: low fat, gluten-free, and so-called healthy sugars.
Right. So can you talk about some of those for us?
Yeah, definitely. Let's kind of start with low fat and non-fat, which I really hope that people are not doing non-fat anymore. Basically, when you take fat out of a food, you're also taking out the flavor. So how do you give something more flavor?
Sugar?
You add more sugar. You'll notice that with any low-fat and non-fat foods, the sugar content is extremely high.
Yeah.
Now we'll also talk a little bit about gluten-free products. I don't want to say that gluten-free isn't important because so many people out there really do have celiac disease and they have other intolerances going on where they really can't have gluten. The problem is they're going from one processed food to the next. Instead of just cutting out and going to real food, they're having gluten-free products, which when you take out certain substances and try to make them taste good, what do you think they add?
Sugar.
Sugar.
Yes, A+ student.
So here we are. We're seeing all these different things, all these trends, and then things come out about like coconut sugar and agave and all these so-called healthy sugars.
Well, yeah, they're really healthy, right? I put them in all of my food.
Of course you do, and they are, and they taste so good, and they're delicious, and it's like, oh my goodness, I want more and more and more, and that's because sugar's addicting, and so the food industry has learned how to use healthy sugars as a way to still get you to buy more product.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, I'm
Yeah.
glad you've explained those 3 health trends for us. But before we dive in, we want to warn you that this information during this video series is going to be very important information. And by not taking advantage of this information, you could totally be missing out on knowledge that's holding you back from achieving the health and the happiness that you've really been searching for.
It's so true, Molly. And while these might be shocking, or maybe actually some of these people, including yourself, you already know about it, either way, Molly and I, we can relate.
Yeah, we can.
And we've shared our backstories. We both want to know what it's like for you when it comes to trying to sift through all of this information and not really understanding, what's out there.
Right. But what we found is that when you make a choice, you have a plan, and it's based on clean eating and real food, you can transform your life. All you have to do is follow some simple guidelines when it comes to your food.
True.
And if you know the 30 Clean, you know that we love food.
We love food a lot.
Yeah.
Now that you know more about our backstory, you learn more about the 30 Clean, and you've learned that we will be talking about 3 specific health myths. We want to offer you this free resource, which we created just for you.
Yes.
So, use this as a guide throughout our coaching series and discover how to avoid the 3 health traps, both for you and your family.
Yes, a great guide. And after you've done that, if you don't mind, we'd love for you to introduce yourselves in the Facebook comment box below and share where you're from and what you've learned from this first part in the video series.
Yeah, I'd love that. And be sure to share this with your family and friends.
Yeah, it's really important to spread the word of clean eating.
True.
Stay tuned, you guys, for video number 2, where we'll share with you simple strategies on reading food labels. Whether you're a beginner to the 30 Clean or a returning challenger, you might be in for some surprises, so stay tuned for Monday's video.
So excited.